This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
China, it's truly a vast and fascinating country. 9,600,000 square kilometers of land, 3 million square kilometers of seas. And it's never still, changing with the rotation of the seasons. To fly like a bird is to see things that are beyond your imagination. You visit places you would never before have dreamed of. And even familiar places, when you look down on them from on high, will assume a completely different appearance. We'll take you to explore places close at hand and far away. To witness nature and geography, humanity and history. Join us as we embark on a unique journey across the sky. In the Chinese heartland is the province of Shaanxi, which can be roughly divided into three parts: the beautiful, fertile south, the vast Guanzhong Plain in the middle, and the Loess Plateau to the north. And across the entire province extend the Qinling Mountains. Our journey begins in the depths of the Qinling Mountains. We'll experience the power of the glaciers on Mount Taibai, and we'll get up close to the rare forest wildlife. We'll follow in the footsteps of the Hermits of the misty mountains and take on the challenge of climbing Mount Huashan. This vast mountain range extends for 1,600 kilometers from east to west. It's longer by a third than the Alps, the greatest mountain range in Europe. The Qinling Mountains are a natural barrier extending across the middle of China. Neither the cold air current from the north in winter nor the warm and moist current from the south in summer can cross easily. The mountains also form a natural boundary between North and South China. Mount Taibai, the highest peak in the Qinling Mountains, is located in a zone that was once frozen. 120,000 years ago, global temperature changes caused the extinction of numerous species of wildlife in many parts of the world. The Qinling Mountains were the only place on Earth where certain species survived. In 1978, an expedition set out to find a long-lost bird, the crested ibis. In the course of a 50,000-kilometre journey lasting 3 years, all the team found were 3 crested ibis feathers. Later, however, 7 ibises were discovered in Shaanxi province. They were the only surviving crested ibises in the world. The birds feed on insects found in paddy fields. To save the birds, people began inundating their dry land. Thanks to this protection effort, today more than 1,700 crested ibises are now inhabiting the area. We keep climbing as we approach panda territory. A population of over 300 wild pandas lives in the Qinling Mountains, making it the most likely place on the planet to encounter a panda in its natural habitat. This is a rare brown giant panda. A popular joke among those who see it is that finally you can take a colour photograph of a panda. To date, only 5 brown giant pandas have ever been discovered anywhere on Earth, and all of them were living in the Qinling Mountains. Brown pandas often give birth to black and white cubs. Rarely do they produce brown ones. At around 2,000 meters above sea level, we arrive at a sanctuary for golden snub-nosed monkeys. In the long, cold winters in the Qinling Mountains, the monkeys struggle to find enough to eat. Three times a day, a keeper has to lead them to a feeding station. But the monkeys prefer to rely on themselves. During the summer, when there's plenty of food in the forest, few of them bother with the feeding stations. One day, an uninvited guest invaded Ping County, causing considerable panic. The police were called in, and they drove it back into the forest. The intruder was a takin. Although they look like oxen, takins are more closely related to goats. Takins inhabit dense forests at high altitudes, which is why they're rarely sighted. Takins prefer to stay in groups. Anyone who encounters a lone takin is advised to be wary, as these are hot-tempered animals. Continuing our flight, we reach the central part of the Qinling Mountains. The dense forests of the Qinling Mountains are a place where hermits retreat to. To turn one's back on wealth and revelry in favour of a peaceful life among tranquil peaks and gentle rivers is a tradition observed since the Tang Dynasty. Up until 20 years ago, a few hundred hermits called these mountains home, but in recent years, their numbers have swollen to over 5,000. Flying northeast from the central Qinling Mountains, we catch sight of Mount Huashan. The granite rising straight from the ground is certainly a unique sight. The top of Mount Huashan is a popular place to visit, as it has been the setting for many classic face-offs and kung fu novels. Most tourists climb to the top with the assistance of the strong cables. Others choose to take the cable car. For some, the attraction is the excitement of pitting themselves against the precipitous cliff. In ancient times, it would have been almost impossible to reach the summit. In the 7th century, Taoist monks cut a path up the slope. This gave rise to a saying: there's only ever been one path up Mount Huashan.
CGTN shows you more, providing a fresh global voice you can trust.
And a different look at the world you won't find anywhere else.
We offer unparalleled coverage of Asia, Africa, and Latin America.
We present diverse perspectives on news and newsmakers from around the world.
We want to engage our viewers with stories that represent the complete picture.
We want to share with you ideas that matter to us all.
The stories, the people, the issues.
A new and balanced perspective.
CGTN, see the difference.
Are we ready? China, a nation with the largest population on Earth, assuming a greater role economically and politically on the world stage. Understanding China is critical for all, though difficult for some. Behind the scenes of China's transformation, I'm Robert Lawrence Kuhn. Join me to get closer to China.
China, it's truly a vast and fascinating country. 9,600,000 square kilometers of land, 3 million square kilometers of seas. And it's never still, changing with the rotation of the seasons. To fly like a bird is to see things that are beyond your imagination. You visit places you would never before have dreamed of. And even familiar places, when you look down on them from on high, will assume a completely different appearance. We'll take you to explore places close at hand and far away. To witness nature and geography, humanity and history. Join us as we embark on a unique journey across the sky. By following the Weihe River, we're tracing the extent of an empire that ruled here over 2,000 years ago. Beneath the mounds lies what remains of the vast Qin Empire. Flying along the Qin Strait Road and the Great Wall, we get an idea of the layout of Qin territory. Centuries after the Qin, China enjoyed another golden age under the Tang Dynasty. Flying from the Qinling Mausoleum to the Tang capital, Xi'an, we find the city that symbolizes the height of China's past glory. The meeting of the Jinghe and Weihe rivers has given rise to a Chinese idiom, as distinct as the waters of Jing and Wei. The Jinghe is alternately clear and murky, depending on the change of the seasons. During the summer flood season, the high concentration of sediment makes it hard to distinguish one river from the other. But in the dry winter, the sediment of the Jinghe is radically reduced. This creates the iconic contrast of purity and impurity. The Weihe, having been joined by the Jinghe, flows eastward towards its final destination, the Yellow River. Shaanxi people consider the Weihe their mother river. Not only is it the largest tributary of the Yellow River, it's also at the heart of an alluvial plain 36,000 square kilometers in area. On this plain, massive quantities of silt have been accumulated in the course of tens of thousands of years. More than 2,000 years ago, the fertile soil and advanced agriculture of the Guanzhong Plain created a miracle, the rise of the Qin Empire. Today, people are still producing statues of Qin dynasty warriors. The smallest are just a few centimeters tall, while the largest can reach over 3.5 meters. The original terracotta warriors are found in 3 giant pits. The nearly 8,000 pieces of the terracotta army form a vast underground legion, fueling the popular imagination about the power and wealth of the Qin Empire. To the west of the Museum of the Terracotta Army, there's an 87-meter high hillside. It covers a mausoleum. The underground palace beneath the mount is the final resting place of Qin Shi Huang, the first Qin emperor. According to historical records, the ceiling of the underground palace is embellished with glittering gems symbolizing the stars and planets. It's also recorded that mercury circulates through a vast network of trenches representing rivers and lakes. It's said that 720,000 workers spent 39 years building this mausoleum. Its total area is equivalent to that covered by 63 forbidden cities. A bird's-eye view reveals that the Great Wall dating from the Ming Dynasty a few hundred years ago has largely survived despite the passage of time and the effects of erosion. However, an earlier Great Wall built in the Qin Dynasty around 2,000 years ago has virtually disappeared. We can only imagine what this magnificent defensive structure must have looked like. The beacon towers of this wall made use of the most advanced means of communication of their day. A mixture of dry wood and wolf dung would be burnt to create dense smoke, an alarm announcing that an enemy was threatening the border. The signal would be relayed from one watchtower to the next. The garrison lived in fortresses. The nearby Great Wall could be quickly reached on horseback. The Qin Empire had a highly advanced transport network. One route, known as the Straight Road, covered the 700 kilometers from Xianyang in Shaanxi to Inner Mongolia. The Great Wall and the Qin Straight Road were both giant structures. Although built at the same time, they served opposing purposes. One was for preventing movement, and the other for promoting communication. The Great Wall defended against nomads invading from the north, while the Qin Straight Road connected the empire's border with its capital. Next, we'll shine a light on another golden age. Lying buried in the Qinling Mausoleum are Tang Dynasty Empress Wu Zetian, the famous woman ruler, and her husband, Emperor Guanzhong of Tang. The Spirit Way leading to the Qinling Mausoleum is lined with 61 headless stone statues. What caused the damage to the statues is debated. One theory is that it resulted from a powerful earthquake during the Ming Dynasty. As statues of foreign diplomats from Asian and European countries, they represent the far-reaching power and international standing of Tang China. This city has been known as Xi'an for the past 600 years, but in the 1,500 years prior to that it was called Chang'an. The giant Wild Goose Pagoda is a major Xi'an landmark. Due to its great age, it requires regular renovation. Xuanzang, a leading Buddhist figure during the Tang Dynasty, oversaw the pagoda's construction. In the pagoda, he placed the texts and statues of the Buddha that he'd brought back from India. At the time, most of the city's buildings were no taller than 10 meters, so the giant Wild Goose Pagoda at 60 meters towered so much over everything else that it could be seen from all directions. Over the centuries, it's been rebuilt and enlarged. Today, the pagoda remains much as it was during the Ming Dynasty. The fourth floor still houses 2 pages of the original sutras brought back by Xuanzang. As the starting point of the Silk Road, Chang'an was a flourishing trade city. In the Tang Dynasty, it was a vast metropolis. It was 7 times the size of Constantinople, and at its height, it had a population of over 1 million people. The Tang Dynasty brick and wood Imperial Palace was once the largest complex of its kind on Earth. A miniature 1/15 the original size stands beside the Daming Palace ruins. Parts of Daming Palace have been restored, like this 15-meter-high stylobate. This would have formed part of the base of a platform on which the Tang emperors presided over court ceremonies. The ancient Japanese capitals of Nara and later Kyoto were modelled after Chang'an, although built on a more modest scale.
There is no more they, or you, or me. In today's economic landscape, there is only we. An interconnected world of business, trade, and investment. Daily coverage told simply, with insight and new perspectives. Global business. We've got the world covered.
A land full of natural resources and ingenuity, where millions are embracing a vibrant middle class, divided by politics, but united by hope. Latin America is changing rapidly. Witness the change on America's Now.
China, it's truly a vast and fascinating country. 9,600,000 square kilometers of land, 3 million square kilometers of seas. And it's never still, changing with the rotation of the seasons. To fly like a bird is to see things that are beyond your imagination. You visit places you would never before have dreamed of. And even familiar places, when you look down on them from on high, will assume a completely different appearance. We'll take you to explore places close at hand and far away. To witness nature and geography, humanity and history. Join us as we embark on a unique journey across the sky. Numerous cities hold an annual marathon race. The Shangma, Xiama and Beima are the short names of the Shanghai, Xiamen and Beijing marathons. But Xi'an calls its marathon Changma, the City Wall Marathon. This is because the course is on top of the ancient city wall. Succeeding dynasties renovated the Xi'an city wall. What we see today is the remains of the Ming dynasty structure. A park built alongside it is a popular recreational area. Urban development normally relates to space. In a sense, however, Xi'an has developed in respect of time more than expanding its area. The city's urban districts so powerfully evoke the history of the Qin, Han, Tang and Ming dynasties that it almost seems as though you're going back in time. Still, this is a modern city, and it's moving forward from the powerful foundation of its past glories, like a tree growing new branches and leaves from an ancient trunk. On the next leg of our journey, we'll view the distinctive landscapes of the Qinling Mountains. We'll take in the fertile southern rice terraces and the contrasting dry northern terraces. And among the high mountains, we'll visit the only natural prairie in Shaanxi province. By preventing vapor from the south moving northward, the Qinling Mountains nurture numerous streams. These streams subsequently become the source of the Hanjiang. The largest river in Shaanxi, 2,000 years ago, the Hanjiang gave birth to the powerful Han Empire. The Xunhe, a tributary of the Hanjiang, winds its way through a city. This is the last leg of the Hanjiang River's journey in Shaanxi. When it reaches the southern foothills of the Qinling Mountains, it enters an alluvial plain. This is the Jianghan Plain, covering 46,000 square kilometers of Hubei province. Nourished by the Hanjiang, the Hanzhong Basin yields a rich variety of natural produce. Every March witnesses a spectacular blossoming of the Hanzhong rapeseed crop. From February onwards, 16 million acres of the flowers cut a vast swathe across the country, from the southernmost point of Hainan province to the northernmost Inner Mongolia. This 2,000 square kilometre area produces a quarter of the world's rapeseed. Because it extends across such a broad span of latitudes, Shaanxi enjoys two distinct climates, which in turn give rise to two very different types of terrain. Southern Shaanxi is served by a vast irrigation system fed by many rivers. Thanks to this system, the rice here grows as well as in the fertile south. "200 kilometers to the north on the Loess Plateau lie dry terraced fields. Spring always arrives late here, so the fields often need a blanket of plastic to keep them warm after being sowed. These terraced fields are the product of the unique northern climates and terrain. Flying westward, we're approaching Mount Longshan. The temperature drops steadily the further one goes up the 2,000-meter mountain. The cooler climate leads to the thinning of the vegetation, creating the only natural grassland in Shaanxi. "2,000 years ago, people in the Qin dynasty discovered this rich pasture and began breeding horses. Flying across the Loess Plateau, we'll seek out an ancient cypress reputedly planted by the Yellow Emperor. We'll visit a wetland oasis, and in Yanan, review the glory of a bygone era. After a visit to the plateau cave houses, we'll head south for a glimpse of life that's deeply rooted in this land. This is the biggest Loess Plateau on Earth. Here, the Loess layer can be as much as 180 meters deep. Incredibly, this wonder of nature was created solely by the wind. Now, after decades of work, most of the plateau is lush with greenery. Millions of years ago, cold, dry winds blew down from the northwest. When they met the Qinling Mountains, they slowed, and the sand and soil they carried settled. Slowly, at a rate of 1 meter every 10,000 years, the sand built up. Throughout history, many civilizations have been swallowed up by wind and sand. But the Loess Plateau tells a different story. Wherever the river flows, the sediment it deposits turns into rich soil. It was in river valleys like this thousands of years ago that the earliest forms of agriculture were developed. To this day, the ancient crop called su continues to thrive here, although these days it's known as millet. This is believed to be the oldest cypress in the world at 5,000 years. Legend has it that the Yellow Emperor himself planted it. More than a fifth of the world's population is believed to share a common ancestor, the Yellow Emperor. He's credited with establishing a tribal confederation which became the foundation of the Chinese nation and of the civilization which emerged on the Loess Plateau. Some of the earliest human civilizations, ancient Egyptian, Babylonian and Indian, emerged along lines of latitude shared by the Loess Plateau. A riverside wetland comes into view. Cuckoo cry the fishhawks on sandbars in the river. This is how Huashan is described in the famous Book of Poetry. Here, near the middle reaches of the Yellow River 20 centuries ago, the forefathers of the Chinese people lived an idyllic existence. They described their daily life and feelings in song, and they thus created the earliest form of poetry, collected in works such as the Book of Poetry. The ancient pastoral songs reverberating across this vibrant land are today spurring the momentum of the great national revival. This 9-story tower built in the Ming Dynasty is the symbol of Yanan. In 1937, the Communist Party of China established its headquarters in Yanan. The Red Army had suffered severe losses during the Long March. For the next decade, the tiny force would build up its strength, finally becoming powerful enough to liberate China. From above, cave dwellings can be seen embedded in the mountain slopes. Loess is excellent at retaining heat, and it creates a solid structure that isn't prone to collapse. The cave dwellings are therefore surprisingly safe and comfortable. But where the land is flat, there are no slopes suitable for building cave houses, so a creative alternative developed: silo caves. In constructing a silo cave, a square hole is first sunk into the ground. Individual rooms are then extended from its walls. Most homes have a tree in the courtyard. The tree serves as a warning flag so that passers-by don't fall into the cave by accident.
The world's currencies are more connected than ever before. The mechanisms that drive the economy are universal. Money moves markets. We explain these trends and show you how the cash in your pocket can have a wide-reaching effect. Because money makes the world go round. Global business.
From emerging powers to expanding partnerships, from fighting poverty to combating climate change, booming economies, war-ravaged nations, and everything in between. We capture the changes affecting the most dynamic and diverse continent on the planet, taking you beyond the headlines to the people and their stories. Asia Today, delivering Asia to the world.
China, it's truly a vast and fascinating country. 9,600,000 square kilometers of land, 3 million square kilometers of seas. And it's never still, changing with the rotation of the seasons. To fly like a bird is to see things that are beyond your imagination. You visit places you would never before have dreamed of. And even familiar places, when you look down on them from on high, will assume a completely different appearance. We'll take you to explore places close at hand and far away. To witness nature and geography, humanity and history. Join us as we embark on a unique journey across the sky. Heading northward, we'll discover treasures buried in the sand, and we'll visit another ancient capital. Then we'll travel through an energy corridor, where a particularly picky water bird lies in wait. Fly too high and the ground becomes too distant. Here, minute algae and various minerals imbue the salt pans with a dazzling array of colors. Dingbian is the major salt-producing area in China's northwest. Its capacity can meet the annual global demand for salt 3 times over. Nowadays, machinery has liberated people from the back-breaking labor. These salt pans were once inland lakes. Due to the unusually high rate of evaporation here, the lakes eventually dried up, leaving behind the gift of salt. The ground in northern Shaanxi appears neatly patterned. On closer inspection, the patterns are revealed as potato fields. A rotating irrigation system is employed here. It's centered on the water source, with the fields spread out in circles around it. Many experimental crop fields are found in northern Yulin. The trials going on here could lead to breakthroughs in cultivating deserts. Further to the east, the land reveals its ancient scars. This was the last capital of the Xiongnu people. The Xiongnu were a nomadic people. It's rare for nomads to build cities, yet in 500 AD, the Xiongnu began work on Tongwan. To consolidate the walls, glutinous rice was added to the usual building material consisting of sand and lime. But the city didn't last long. Less than 20 years after its completion, the Xiongnu vanished without a trace into the desert. The Wuding River at one time marked the border between nomadic and agricultural civilizations. Still today, it's a transitional area between herders on its northern bank and crop growers on the southern. With industrialization, the Loess Plateau has revealed its value in another way. It's now the heartland of the China Energy Corridor. Millions of years ago, the area was a diverse underwater ecological system. As generation after generation of living organisms came and went, their fat and protein were trapped and transformed into oil and natural gas. Today, in this region with ample sunshine and strong winds, solar energy and wind power are undergoing rapid development. These new modes of energy have changed the traditional image of the Loess Plateau. Flying over the desert sands, we're suddenly greeted by a lake. Hongjian now is the biggest freshwater lake in a desert in China. It's also the preferred summer destination of 60% of the world's relict gulls. The relict gull is also known as the Central Asian gull. In Chinese, it's known as Yi-O, literally meaning forgotten bird. Relict gulls are very particular about where they breed. The only places they can procreate are on islands in desert lakes. The water level around the islands can neither be too high nor too low, and the surface must be calm. In short, they are extremely fussy birds. On the final part of this journey, we'll admire the many faces of the Yellow River. We'll follow its elegant curvature to Hukou, and there we'll witness the river at its most powerful. Where northern Shaanxi meets Inner Mongolia, the Loess gradually turns into grassland. The Yellow River, which has so far been flowing from west to east, now turns to the north. Here, the Yellow River visibly slows down as though steadying itself to avoid the rocks ahead. Appropriately, this mountain is named Loess Chan, with Chan meaning to walk slowly. Despite the seemingly benign landscape, this is a place where life must battle for survival. This multicolored layer of rock is called arsenic sandstone. Only the strongest of weeds can survive here. The gentle, meandering water scenery only reveals itself to those who venture up high. Because the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, people tend to build pathways that are straight. But nature has the time to take detours. This river meanders along, creating impressive curves along its route. Tracing the border between Shaanxi to the east and Shaanxi to the west, the Jiankuan Bend looks like a natural Tai Chi symbol. From its source in Qinghai to Hukou, the Yellow River has already covered a tortuous journey of over 4,000 kilometers. Here, the river is suddenly woken from its repose. The currents become turbulent. With its vast width and at 50 meters high, this is the Yellow River's largest waterfall. The spectacular wild torrents endow Hukou with a legendary halo, transforming it into a stage on which many tales of bravery have been played out. The unstoppable Yellow River is a symbol of the Chinese spirit. Nothing can prevent this river from surging on towards a sea that's waiting and welcoming.